Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready. Jon Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights, pull a Yui, park in front of the music store with the red neon light. Come be with me on the podcast. Like and subscribe, tell your friends. Have your own podcast right here in our studio. Dave will tell you how. And we are here today with guitar player, keyboard player, Rick Handville. There he is.
Hey, John.
Right?
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
What's going on?
Nice to be here.
Yeah. Hey, is this how you pictured it?
Yeah, actually.
Pretty much.
I did a lot of audio and video multimedia work in the corporate world, so this is not unlike where we used to work.
Right. Far out. Yeah.
We had a little bit bigger space, but...
well, don't count him out. He's working on it. It'll be bigger.
Yeah.
So
nice to be here, man.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So tell us what you're doing these days.
Well, let's see. My main gig right now is with a band in Simsbury called Little House.
Oh, okay.
Frank Jagir is the drummer.
Nice.
Gary Gott on bass. Jess Nolan on vocals. And the leader of the band is Joe Petrina. He's a guitar player and songwriter.
Okay.
And I play guitar and keyboards in that band.
Oh, nice.
It's mostly original material.
Cool.
Joe has had a band playing. He has a barn on his property that he outfitted as a small concert venue.
Oh, nice.
About 10 years ago, maybe a little more.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I started working for him about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's a really interesting gig. First of all, there's a Joe Montanari drum set.
Nice.
That's there. So Frank gets to use that. Frank brings his own cymbals. And
Joe Montanari just made the list. See, this is how this works. Frank just made whoever you mention, ding. Okay, so go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. At any rate, most of the material is Joe Petrina's original material.
Okay.
We do a couple of cover things, not much, but it's always covers that are done in kind of Joe's style.
Yep.
And it's a great band. Joe gives us a lot of latitude to add our own take on his material.
Cool.
Sometimes he has really definite things he'd like to have us play, and we do that. But
and he plays guitar primarily?
Yep, he plays guitar and vocals.
Okay.
He does also play keyboards, although he hasn't been doing that lately for whatever reason. And
yep.
I've been doing some keyboards, and then Jess, the singer, does some keyboard stuff.
Oh.
And it's a great gig. Also because that's the only place we play is in his barn.
Wow.
So the equipment is all set up.
Hey.
The monitors are tweaked. That's also where we rehearse.
Hey, that's cool.
It's a great gig. And
how often do you play?
Well, it was a couple times a month.
Oh, wow.
For a variety of reasons, we've had to take a bit of a break.
Sure.
So this fall has been not much happening, although Joe and I have been working on mixing a recent CD in conjunction with, here's another name drop, with Jeff Weed, who has a studio in Bloomfield.
Yep.
And Jeff has done a bunch of recording and mixing, and so between Jeff and I, we bounce back and forth between my home studio and Jeff's.
Oh, cool.
And we're almost done with the CD right now.
That's cool.
Or CD, I don't know. It's a collection of music that will be distributed to the world somehow.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
So that's my main gig. I was playing for the last 6-7 months with a group in Southern Connecticut called Forgotten by Friday.
Okay.
I'm going to name drop because the drummer is a guy named Mike Giamatti.
Okay.
Giamatti, I'm sorry, I didn't say his name right. From Brantford, great drummer.
Nice.
But almost all of the gigs with those guys were Southern Connecticut, and I live in Granby, which is,
yeah.
And it was just, I couldn't do it after a while. I mean, I love playing with them, and musically it was a good gig, but
yeah.
But what was fun about that, and this goes back to what I started to talk about earlier, I play guitar and keyboards.
Okay.
And I've played...
At the same time ever?
No. However, in the same song, every once in a while. Right. It's not easy to do, but I started playing guitar when I was 8, and I started playing keyboards when I was 11.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in my late 60s at this point. So my point being, I've played both for a long time, and both instruments have affected how I play the other. So the way that I play guitar is definitely affected by playing keyboards. Because
Really?
because musically I think of things from two different perspectives. Anyway, sorry, I got
How would you?
track
No,
there.
no. How would you characterize those perspectives? I don't really play well. I
Yeah,
don't
sure.
really play
No,
either.
I can address that.
Yeah.
Many guitar players play rhythmically busier than I do.
Okay.
I tend to play rhythmically simpler
Okay.
and really try and lock in with 2 and 4 on the snare.
Yep.
That's just sort of my approach. But,
Yeah.
but a lot of that is because of how I play keyboards. So when I play keyboards, I tend to fill in not very rhythmic on keyboards.
I got you.
Intentionally, because
Yeah.
that's, the sound of the instrument has its niche that it fits into in a band. So that affects my guitar playing, because then I almost play guitar a bit like a keyboard player.
Oh.
It's a funny, I know it's kind of a funny approach.
Well,
but,
it's cool though.
it works,
Yeah.
So the other thing I think that was helpful, and I majored in guitar in college. I actually went to Hart as a classical guitar major. But my point about that is that no matter what instrument you study at the college level, you also always study keyboards too.
I see.
Because the keyboard is a very visual instrument.
Sure.
It helps you understand musical relationships.
Definitely.
The high notes are that way, the low notes are that way. The guitar, unfortunately, is not a visual instrument in terms of understanding musical relationships.
Sure.
It's a very abstract
Sure.
thing, and consequently, many guitar players often don't know the intricacies of music theory. It's not their fault. A lot of it is the instrument just doesn't lend itself to that.
Right. So they just they learn the same licks that we all learn.
Sure, right. They learn shapes and they learn,
Sure.
but they don't necessarily understand the music theory behind it.
Yep.
And the reason that's been helpful for me, music theory to me is more about communication with other musicians, more than anything.
Sure, absolutely.
So that, if I'm working with somebody else that understands theory, now we have a common language.
Right.
And, I can say, oh yeah, it's based on this scale or it's this chord or whatever, and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%.
And that's a big time saver, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas if you had to actually show somebody, oh yeah, let me get my guitar and show you that chord, that's okay, that works, but I can look at somebody and say a chord name and they'll understand that. So.
And how about the folks in this Little House band? Are they on that level?
Yes.
Oh, good. That helps.
Absolutely. This Little House has been one of the most fun gigs I've done.
Wow.
When we get together, there's no drama. People are pros.
Are you sure it's a band? If there's no drama, you know what I mean. If there's a band with no drama, is it a band?
That's partly why it's fun, because there is no drama. We don't argue about anything. We have a good time together.
Nice.
It's and the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, that affects the music positively.
Sure.
When
I don't know. I've never been in a band where everyone got along, so I can't say. It sounds nice. Sounds like a good thing.
It's unusual. I mean, I've been in a lot of different bands, and sure, there's almost always some level of drama or some conflict. Or
maybe I don't take this the wrong way, but just as people get older, you realize what this is for. Like when you're younger, it's your whole world wrapped up in this band. Do you think maybe, and that's why there's so much drama. When you get older, you're just like, look, I know what I want to get from this.
I think that's one aspect of it. Absolutely.
I would think.
Sure. I agree. I think that's one aspect of why there's less drama is because we have slightly different perspective on what we're doing.
Yeah. But that's good though. I mean, that can be a good thing.
Yeah, sure. Healthy conflict when it's done correctly is not a bad thing.
Sure.
But
I disagree.
I think it's hard. From my experience, I think it's difficult to have healthy conflict without it getting out of hand. A lot of times, it just escalates.
Sure. No, I hear that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's been the latest thing, man.
That's cool.
I've been with Little House for, like I said, I think it's about 8 years.
Wow. And folks around that way know to come to the show. So
that's an interesting point. There's a website, littlehouseLive.com.
Yep.
And you can go on the website and put your name into the email list. And Joe's wife, Laura, puts out an email when we're doing a show or shows.
Yep.
And people respond to the email. And because there's only, it seats about 80 people.
Oh, wow.
80 to 90 people.
Okay.
And it's free. It's a great night out. It's
Nice.
early. It's like it's a 7 to 9 gig basically.
Whoa,
so
great.
for a musician, that's like, I'm home
Beautiful.
before 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she manages the email list, and I don't think we've had less than 60 or 70 people at a show yet.
Wow. That's great.
But like I say, we haven't done a show now since the middle of the summer because there's a variety of reasons that hasn't happened. But it'll resume again.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
New material every time, new show every time, or kinda?
We mix up the material. There is a basic set list that we kind of stick roughly with because Joe's been doing this for quite a while, and the audience, as with anything, familiarity is important with the material.
Sure.
And there's probably 10 songs out of the set that we kind of keep the same all the time because the audience kind of expects it. They're, if you want to call them hit songs or whatever,
Sure.
That audience is familiar with them. And then, but Joe is always writing, always writing.
Oh, that's
stuff,
cool.
New stuff all the time.
Hey, that's cool.
It is actually. And when I joined the band, the group was definitely more country rock focused.
Okay.
I mean, people call it Americana, but to me, it's country rock.
Yeah.
But Joe writes a variety of stuff. Some of it is just, I would call it pop rock. Lately, he's been into more blues rock kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of different flavors mixed in, and we have a lot of latitude to experiment in what we bring to the songs. Although one thing that's fun, you would dig this, is Joe and I do a bunch of dual guitar harmony things, like almost Allman Brothers type of things, which you don't hear a lot of.
Sure.
And Joe has those harmonies in his head. I mean, so that's not an improvised thing. He'll tell me exactly what to play. He says, here's what I'm doing. You do this, and he'll sing it to me, and off we go. And
cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hip. Because you don't hear that all that often these days.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Huh. So one of the other things that's fun in particular is Frank Jagir being the drummer. I don't know if you know this or not, but he and I grew up together.
Okay.
We literally grew up across the street from each other in Enfield.
Oh, wow.
And I've known Frank since I was 11 years old.
Yeah, right.
And we went all through junior high and high school, and, I've just known him forever. And we've played together a lot, not all the time. He was in Street Temperature for a long time, and he's done a lot of other things. And I've done a lot of other things, too. But
it's like a homecoming.
It is, there's a familiarity that helps, again, musically, the way the personalities mix together.
Sure.
So that's pretty cool.
Who the gig? How'd you guys both arrive at the same gig?
No, well, I was in the band before him, which I believe Joe Montanari had called me.
Okay.
They had a guitar player prior to me named Tom McGregor, who's a great player also. Tom from Southern Connecticut?
Yeah.
And he left the band, and they needed a guitar player, and Joe had called me, Montanari, and I went down and auditioned. And then I was in the band for a good year or so. Doug LaChapelle was playing drums.
Oh, okay.
And then he left the group. And how did Frank end up in there? I think Joe... I was playing with Frank in a different band, actually.
Oh, okay.
Like at the Maple Tree. And,
all right.
And I believe Joe came to see us there. and really
was
done.
like, hey, this do this.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride.
Nice.
For a bunch of years.
Wow.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Of course, I worked with Brian McDonald quite a bit, both gigging and recording. So all through COVID, excuse me. All through COVID, we did a number of live stream concert things.
Oh.
Just he and I, duo thing. He had done a couple things on his own first.
Yep.
And then he had called me, and we had started working on some recording stuff. And then at that point, he said, "Well, why don't you and I do the live stream thing together?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool."
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then we've done 2 complete CDs together of his material.
Right.
Brian is a prolific writer also.
Hey, that helps.
Yeah.
Are you?
No. I wish. I'm envious of writers because that's never been my strong point. Have I written some things? Yes. But I look at people like Joe Petrina and Brian McDonald and folks like that are able to just come out with stuff, regularly, good stuff.
Yeah, it's a thing.
That was never my forte.
That's kind of wild. Well, I guess everybody's got something. I know what you mean. Not much of a writer.
I've always been better at helping people that write.
Yeah, me too.
I can support them well.
Yeah.
Like on Brian's records, I did guitars, I did keyboards, I played bass on most of it. I did I did all the engineering and stuff.
Cool.
So, that's more my strong point, are helping creative people.
Yeah.
Like Joe, like Brian. There were some other folks back in the 90s that I worked with that were, again, prolific writers.
Yeah.
And I was able to help them with stuff.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah, it's good.
So it all started in Enfield. Is that what you say?
Yeah. I started playing guitar in 65.
Wow.
That would be 1965.
Right.
Just to be clear. Most people my age that were into that were total Beatles fanatics, and I was not, strangely.
Wow.
Not intentionally, just,
Yeah.
I mean, they were part of the
You were
landscape.
watching a different channel.
Yeah, kind of,
night,
I mean, they were part of the landscape, but I was at a point where, I mean, to me, I was into the Monkees, I was into Tommy James and the Shondells.
Yeah, right.
And then ultimately, I was into Santana, I was into Chicago, Tower of Power, little Allman Brothers, Fillmore East album.
Sure.
So the Beatles were not a huge influence on me initially. They are more so now, which I think is kind of funny. But in hindsight, looking at they really changed music as we know it. But when I was younger, they were not a big influence for me.
Wow.
So anyway, Enfield. There were a lot of musicians from Enfield from that time period, give or take 4 or 5 years. I mean, some really good musicians. Tom Peorik, another great drummer. Do you know Tom?
No.
Great drummer.
Yeah.
Doug Jones was from Enfield. He was 2 years behind me, but we all knew each other. Guitar player named Dave Buda, fabulous guitar player. Mark Legault was a sax player. Has been with Steve Smith and the Nakeds for a long time.
Yeah.
Who else? Man, Vinny Casado. He's a trumpet player. These were all people within a couple of year span within the same school systems.
Oh, why? Was it a good good music teacher, or who knows?
I wish I had an easy answer.
Something in the water.
They were supportive. I mean, the school programs were supportive, and the teachers were good. But I think you have that in many school systems all over. So I don't know what what was going on at that point in time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Enfield. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, also may be somewhat a law of numbers, because the 2 high schools were huge. I mean, they had a couple thousand people in each high school at the same time. So you had a lot of people.
Sure.
So that may have contributed to that also. Just pure numbers of people doing it at that kind of similar age,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Started on guitar, you said, and then keys later.
I did. Yeah, I was actually living in New Jersey at that point. I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Okay.
And we lived there till I was about 11 and then moved to Connecticut. But yeah, so I took guitar lessons for a couple of years in Plainfield,
Yep.
New Jersey. Moved to Connecticut, started studying home organ lessons.
Oh, wow.
That was my,
Sure.
basic playing Girl from Ipanema.
Yeah.
Never on Sunday. And, and it's funny to look at that. And I laugh at some of that, making a joke out of it. But I will tell you that having played home organ like that was really helpful for me understanding the bigger picture of music and, and how things fit together.
Sure.
Because I was playing bass with my foot
on
the pedals.
Sure.
Playing chords with my left hand.
Yeah.
Playing melodies with my right to like a cheesy drum machine,
Yeah.
And I never thought about it, but when you sort of dissect music and understand how that all hangs together, it's been helpful actually.
I bet. Yeah, instead of just playing parts or whatever, just one part.
Yeah.
You're playing the whole thing.
Well, and then because of that, so when I was in high school, Handville High School, I played electric bass in the jazz band. I played sousaphone in the marching band.
Oh, boy.
I had my own rock band where I played guitar with a horn section.
Okay.
I wish I had a couple of recordings of that band. Remember the song Rocky Mountain Way, Joe Walsh?
Yeah.
We used to do a version of that with the horn section, 6 horn players doing the ba da 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 da.
Sounds good. I could imagine.
My memory of it was really good, but we're talking 1972, 73. So was it really good? I don't know, but it seems like a cool idea.
It's a cool idea. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
So my parents were really supportive of me in terms of. They bought me a bass. I was an only child.
Yeah.
I still am, as a matter of fact.
Hey, how about that?
So they bought me a bass. They bought me a Fender Rhodes piano. They bought me a nice Gibson Les Paul guitar after I had been playing.
Nice.
After I'd been playing for a number of years, and
cool.
It was pretty obvious that this was something I was going to continue to do. So they bought me a Les Paul, and so
you still have it?
I don't actually.
Oh,
I sold that guitar to buy the first Paul Reed Smith guitar that I bought back in 1985.
Okay, sure. Fair enough.
Yeah, so it was okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like a fair trade at the time,
Sure.
I've ended up being a PRS guy.
Oh, really?
Since then, yeah. They just fit with how I like to play.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, my point about that was just simply that my parents were very supportive of me as a musician, giving me a lot of opportunities to do things. I didn't appreciate all of that at the time. This is kind of in hindsight.
Sure.
But that was a big deal, knowing that your parents thought this, was a good thing.
Yeah. No. That was my experience.
Of course, my mother always wanted me to study business.
Right.
You need to have something to fall back on.
Sure.
But my father was. I think my father would have been a musician if he had grown up in a different time period.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He came from a family of 12 kids.
Oh, boy.
During the Depression. Not a lot of extra money for music lessons.
Sure.
And, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But, before he passed away, he and I had a conversation, and he basically said that he let me go to music school and all that because that's what he would have done if he could have.
Yeah, right.
And so, it absolutely has a special meaning.
Yeah,
for me because of that. So
yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
that's pretty
sense.
Cool.
That makes sense. So when did you start playing like out in the world proper? When did that start to happen?
I had a band when I was in 8th grade, whatever age. I guess that would be maybe 13, something like that. You're going to love this band called Peace Incorporated.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.
We had red, white, and blue shirts.
Yeah.
That would have been whatever year that was, 69, 70, something like that.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Peace Incorporated.
Peace Incorporated was a quartet. I actually still know some of the people.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. My last high school reunion a couple of years ago, the trumpet player was there. This was fun to see.
Wow.
So we started there, and And then, like many people in that time frame, we played school dance things.
Sure.
And eventually doing some VFW kind of gigs, American Legion gigs,
Sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some wedding stuff. Once I ended up in college as a music major, I started gigging more.
Oh, okay.
I was always teaching too, actually.
Yeah.
In Enfield, I taught at a store called Music Men. It's not there anymore. It's gone, long gone. But I was teaching 3 or 4 days a week.
Hey, that's cool.
It was great. That was another musical experience that I highly recommend. If you've not, assuming that you like teaching.
I do.
For me, I would say that I got more out of teaching than my students probably did. Actually,
Hey, that's cool. In what way?
I would have the students. This is in days of cassette tapes.
Sure.
Late 70s. I would have students bring in cassette tapes of whatever they wanted to learn. Once they got to a point where they could play a little bit, could do some popular songs, obviously that's what they want to do is play popular songs.
Of
So
course.
bring in whatever you want to learn. I'll learn it first and then show it to you.
Yep.
Well, the byproduct of doing that was I got really good at hearing songs and learning them,
Yeah.
I never thought about it. I never did it intentionally. I did it to be able to show the students, but I did it so often that, it was really helpful to me for future stuff in terms of developing my ears and just learning parts. And then even with recording now where I'm, trying to add a guitar part to like one of Brian's songs, for example, I have 8 million guitar parts floating around in my head of stuff that I learned,
Totally.
And it helped me in that regard.
That's cool. So you went off to school. What were you thinking? What did you think was going to happen? Did it happen?
My goal, which did not happen.
Okay.
At that time, it didn't happen. I always wanted to be a studio musician.
Okay. Sure.
That was in my 18-year-old mind, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Larry Carlton, or, whoever. I never had the guts to get up and move to L.A. or Nashville or New York, so I stayed in Connecticut. And but in many ways, I've actually achieved my goal. In terms, part of it is because of the level of recording that we can do at home now.
Right.
With Pro Tools and all of that.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing in
1980.
Yeah,
sure.
Excuse me. But because of that, I can work at home and get people guitar parts for people that,
Yeah.
They'll send me something over the internet and I'll add a guitar part and send it back. And
probably working now more than you would have. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah. So, that was my goal.
Yeah.
So I did music for my living until I was about 30, excuse me, gigging and teaching and stuff. Unfortunately, this is a common story. I fell into a lot of the substance abuse of being in a bar every night of the week, And so when I was about 30, I went back to school for electronics.
Okay.
This would have been in 85,
okay,
I guess, which was a great thing in terms of my health, in terms of my marriage. I'm still married to the same woman for 42
cool.
years.
That's cool.
I have 2 daughters that are in their 30s now. And so that allowed me, working in the corporate world, allowed me to continue playing and recording and what have you.
Sure.
But, I had health insurance.
And all that stuff.
All the, things there. So, it's not for everybody. I get it.
Sure.
I have lots of musician friends that have just done music, and that's cool. I in some respects wish I could have stayed in that world, but, again, in hindsight, this has worked out pretty well. So
no complaints. Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
cool.
And again, I've been able to do a lot of different things musically, which is just the amount of different people that I've had the chance to play with, different band situations. Played with Troy Slocum's band for a while. Their original guitar player had hurt his hands at some point. This was back in the 90s. And they called me to fill in. Well, filling in ended up being a
Yeah.
6 or 9 month gig or whatever it was. And,
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was great. It's just been nice to have all the different opportunities, you know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. We think of it as like you say, because we don't go to New York or L.A. or Nashville, we think that Connecticut's like nothing much going on, but you actually get a lot done, kind of, in a way. You know what I mean?
Some of the best gigs, too, for me, was playing at the Wolf Den down at Mohegan.
Sure.
There was a group called the Groovematics. Silly name, but it was a horn band.
Yeah.
Ricky Marshall on drums.
Yeah, they played Rocky Mountain Way.
I'd always like to hear a band actually do that at some point.
I was in a horn band that played Rocky Mountain Way. It was only 2 horns, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was.
No kidding.
Yeah, we used to play that. It's funny.
That's a fun song.
Yeah.
I always loved playing that.
Yeah. But you were saying...
So this horn band, Ricky Marshall was the drummer.
Oh, yeah.
Rudy Weeks on bass.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Anyway, those gigs, this is probably 10, 12 years ago now. It was a while back. But, we played at Mohegan quite a bit, and great gig.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I've always been drawn to horn bands when they're far and few between, and obviously you're not going to make any money doing it.
Sure.
You know, if you're lucky, you make expenses, so it's not costing you money.
Sure.
I was in a horn band about 2 years ago called Still Kickin' from Granby area.
Yep.
And there's nothing like having a real horn section.
Yeah, right.
You know, keyboards do an adequate job, and, that's cool, but when you actually have 4 or 5 horns and they're good players and they have the parts and the harmonies, that's really cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah. It's different.
Are you familiar with the Michael Palin and the Other Orchestra? You ever seen that?
I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to tell you that I've known Mike Palin. We went to college together.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Down at University of Bridgeport.
Yeah. He's booked on a Thursday because he does his thing.
Palin and I, when we were in college, we actually played together quite a bit.
Oh, that's cool.
There was a sax player named Fred Vigdor. And we used to have a little thing playing. And then Dave Weckl came in. The semester that I left, Dave Weckl came in.
Okay.
And so all those guys knew Weckl and played with him and hung out. I never did meet him. But, Palin... He's got the Other Orchestra.
Yeah.
And, I've filled in with them a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah.
Playing guitar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Talk about a lot of horns.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and Brian actually sings with them.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Where I hooked that up, went up and cornered him. Cornered a lot of people.
Yeah, I meant to tell you about Mike Palin that we played together.
Yeah, no, he's we're gonna get him up here.
Cool.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun.
You know, it's really funny the various personal connections that you make over the years, and actually, something that I wish somebody had told me before I went to music college at the college level was about networking with people and finding people that you can stand working, that you like. That's the wrong way to put it.
Not
I didn't mean that you can stand working with. I meant people that you like working with, where you help each other musically. And, I never looked at college that way as being a situation where you can really find people to connect with, It just never dawned on me.
Right, you were just there to learn the stuff.
Yeah. And, I think if I had that aspect of my life to do over again, that's something I would approach a little differently in terms of seeking out people that I want to work with. Because, at that point, you're still a young musician, kind of learning your way and learning your craft and perfecting it.
Sure.
But how you interact with people personally is such a huge thing.
Yeah, right.
I just always wished I had kept that in the back of my mind. Not to use people. I don't mean it from that perspective, but finding people that you connect with and then maintaining those relationships sometimes can be pretty cool.
Well, better luck next time. I guess, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't go to school.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, it's a two-edged sword. I mean, studying music at that level can be great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think sometimes folks that study music that deeply oftentimes don't always they're not great ear players necessarily. They get stuck
Sure.
at needing to have a chart in
Sure.
front of them. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying it's a common pattern. I was very fortunate that a lot of the gigs that I did were more about just having good ears and fitting in with whatever was going on. So I have kind of the best of both skills. You know, I understand theory, I can read and all of that.
But it enhanced what you were already doing.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful. But having said that, I would still say that having good ears is much more important. And being able to listen to what people are doing around you and playing the appropriate information with that. I mean, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Having the schooling was helpful in certain respects, but it's definitely not the most important.
Yeah, you're likely not going to learn that. You're not going to learn how to have the ears that you need.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, there's a couple things in hindsight looking at the music training that I've had that I think were a big miss in terms of things that were never talked about, were never taught. And this one seems like, really? You never talked about this? This is really, I think, a little odd to me, is how to properly do vibrato on your instrument, which is such a huge, I mean, really huge aspect of expression on any instrument. I'm talking about guitar specifically, but on any instrument. With all the lessons and teachers and everything I had, not one time did anybody mention vibrato. Not even mention it.
Really?
Yeah, which I think is really odd.
Was it just jazz? Is that why?
No, I don't think so. I mean, originally I was a classical guitar major, nylon string classical guitar, and then jazz down at University of Bridgeport.
How long did you go to school?
3 years.
Maybe it was in the fourth year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, geez, I missed that.
Wait, we're just going to get to it. Yeah. I'm going to say, take everything we taught you and now apply vibrato to it. Yeah, that's it. Imagine.
So,
Wow.
I mean, vibrato on any instrument, but again, because I'm a guitarist, I'm thinking about the guitar, is hard to teach. It's you can just try to imitate people that you like the way they do vibrato.
Sure.
Yeah, I missed the fourth year.
Yeah. Imagine if it was as simple as that.
Yeah, I was always surprised that was never discussed, though.
Yeah,
Ever.
right?
I've never heard anybody talk about it.
Huh.
Maybe they did. Maybe
And you didn't think of it then?
No.
Now looking back, you're like, yo.
Right. Yeah, never thought about it at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems like a big miss to me, but.
I wonder if it's different now.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
Go figure. A whole bunch of vibrato-less players, come out of that system, and you can tell. Some
of it for me is that when I'm soloing or playing single note stuff, I'm not a flashy player. I do have a lot of chops. Every once in a while, I'll throw something in. Just because
just keep people off your back. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But more often than not, I tend to play simpler, slower things. So vibrato is actually a really big deal.
Yeah, right.
It's an important aspect of expression. So.
And you just developed it on your own.
Yeah.
Since school didn't help you with that.
Yeah, no. Listening, watching people.
No vibrato in keys, though.
No, that's true. Absolutely true. I mean, with keyboards, it's a different type of expression.
Sure.
Obviously, it's dynamics become an important part.
Yep.
The sounds themselves. I mean, given keyboards today, obviously you have every sound at your fingertips, which is great.
Totally.
So different sounds, but I had a Fender Rhodes Actually, I've had 5 Fender Rhodes pianos over the years. They all pretty much got destroyed from moving around.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Almost as bad as moving drums, but not quite.
Oh God. Yeah. No, I know. I had a Rhodes forever. Yeah, I had a Rhodes, and I moved with it like 3 or 4 times.
Did you?
Yeah, and then the last time, I'm just like, I have to get rid of this, and I gave it away.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
which was good. It was cool.
Yeah.
I just threw it out there, and someone who really wanted it took it. So that's cool.
Yeah, one of the Fender Rhodes that I bought, a female singer in the band was moving to New York City, and she needed to get rid of it in a hurry.
Yeah, right.
And, I gave her $100 for it.
Right.
And
yeah.
I actually wish I had kept that one. That's the last one I had.
Oh boy.
But whatever.
Oh well, it happens. Now you can have a Fender Rhodes on your phone. That's probably better.
pretty much, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the days. So it sounds like you got into home recording at some point.
Yeah, I in the late 90s, of course, like all of us, I had a 4-track cassette recorder, and
Me too.
I did a lot of work with that, Yamaha 4-track cassette.
Sure.
Which was great for its time, to be able to do that even, and then you'd do 3 tracks and bounce it down to one, and it would get all hissy and all that stuff. But as soon as I was able to move into the computer recording world, I could see the benefits of it right away.
Oh, yeah. So you skipped right over the ADAT revolution.
I had an ADAT for a little while, but that was still a tape-based thing. And, one of the big deals that was always frustrating to me was the rewind time of any tape device.
Gotcha.
Over the course of a whole record that you were doing, sitting there, waiting for it to rewind was always a drag, which to me was always one of the big things about computer recording was there is no there's no rewinding, no fast forwarding. As soon as you hit stop, you can hit it and go.
Yeah.
Which I loved. Plus, I'm a computer geek anyway.
Okay.
That was something that I was always interested in.
So you were like, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, originally it was extremely expensive. All the Pro Tools gear was exorbitantly expensive. And so I didn't spend 10 grand on it. I kind of inched my way into it. But over time, it's gotten more and more affordable. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, the power of having that in your computer on your desk at home is just unbelievable.
Yeah, right.
Compared to in the 70s when we were doing recording on 24-track tape at $50 an hour or whatever it was.
Sure.
I worked at the 19 down in Glastonbury. There was the Gallery in East Hartford. There was a studio for a little while in Bloomfield called Real Dreams.
Okay.
A long time ago. And they were all 24-track tape, which was state-of-the-art at the time. And great stuff, great sound, but you know, to be able to have a Mac or whatever. I mean, I have both machines at home.
Yep.
But to be able to have that on your desk with Pro Tools running on it, and
so you were ready. You're like, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I jumped into that as soon as I could afford it. Basically, as soon as there were some more affordable versions of the software and hardware, and
cool.
And, that was pretty hip stuff.
And do you feel that some people say that the limitations versus no limitations as far as tracks affects the creativity? In what way? You know what I mean? Like always the thing when you're working with limitations is a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I know there's no answer, but it just
Sure. I mean, based on my experiences, having certain limitations is absolutely a good thing.
Yeah.
I think artists in general have trouble knowing when to say enough.
Sure.
Or this song is finished. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because when you're not paying for studio time and you have unlimited hard drive space, you can work on something forever.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point about having limitations, it's a different kind of limitation now that you have to sort of impose on yourself and be able to say, That's good enough. That's enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we keep making it better? Sure, you could.
Yeah.
But there's a point of diminishing returns where some of the little tweaks, no one is ever going to hear them or care for that matter.
Right. Well,
that's a challenge,
Yeah, I would imagine.
I think. The other side of that, though, the good aspect of that is that when you have your own home studio, you're not on the clock anywhere.
Right.
And that's a big deal, as you know. I mean, you're not on the clock. You're not thinking about, oh man, we just shot another $50-$60 because I couldn't get the take right.
Yeah.
So you don't have any of that pressure. But again, that's a two-edged sword, as you point out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can spend all day on an 8-bar guitar solo or whatever.
Yep.
I think sometimes when you spend that much time with it, you lose some of the life of the solo, even if maybe it's more perfect.
Sure.
The original couple of takes might have been a little more raw, but a lot of times they just have a spark to them that when you beat a track to death, it doesn't.
I guess that's what a producer is for, supposed to be for back in the day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Keep you in line.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's hard being your own producer for that exact reason.
That's what they say. Yeah.
So
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting close-ish. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we start with the wrap-up questions?
Are you going to ask me what my desert island records are?
Yeah. Yep.
I actually put some thought into that.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so desert island albums.
Desert island albums. Are they actually albums anymore?
I don't know. I call them albums.
But I would have to take a Steely Dan record or two.
Okay.
Like Gaucho, for example.
Sure.
I'd probably have to take a Matt Schofield record. Do you know Matt Schofield?
No.
Not John Schofield.
Yeah, no.
It's a British guy. He's a blues, kind of Robin Ford type of player.
Wow.
But he's a lot like what Robin Ford was doing when Robin Ford was much younger, where he had a little more fire.
Sure.
Robin's been kind of chilled out the last couple of records. But,
okay.
Matt Schofield, good singer, good guitar player.
Wow.
Always has a great band.
Cool.
A lot of times he does like an organ trio thing where he has a great B3 player that does left-hand bass.
That's cool.
Yeah, good drummers.
Still around.
He's probably 40, maybe early 40s.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's got a ways to
He's
go.
from London, but he lives in Florida, and he gigs down in Florida quite a bit.
Okay. I'll have to look out for it.
There's a really cool club in Boca Raton called the Funky Biscuit. I'm doing an ad for the Funky Biscuit.
Yeah.
My mother used to live in that area, so whenever I went to visit, I would always go over there. And
you saw this dude.
Yeah, and they always have great music at this place. So
that's cool.
Anyway, Matt Schofield, great player.
Matt Schofield.
What else would I need to take? There's another kind of obscure musician named Andreas Vollenweider.
I'm somewhat familiar.
He's Swiss.
Yeah.
He plays harp.
Right.
And
that's right.
His music is a little hard to categorize, but I think most people would probably call it kind of new age.
Yeah.
It's very relaxing music. We used to play it a lot when my daughters were real young,
cool.
and still for me to this day I would put that on and just it's great background music. It creates a certain mood.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so
that's wild.
Kind of a different selection of music.
Yeah, than the usual.
Oh, and probably some Tower of Power.
You think so?
The album with What Is Hip.
Yeah, sure.
Garibaldi and the whole crew.
Yeah, how wrong can you go?
Yeah, that was a big influence on me too.
Sure. Yeah, how could it not be? Yeah, definitely.
I think that's it, man. That's
really?
all I would take.
That's it?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. Desert island food.
Desert island food?
Sure.
Sushi would be top of the list. Any kind of sushi. My wife and I are big sushi eaters. I'm a cook also, so.
Oh, nice.
Thai food. I have a couple of really nice Thai recipes that I do. Probably sushi and Thai, and
Nice.
got to have my Starbucks coffee. That
Yeah,
would,
yeah.
You know, that would have to be there.
Got that right.
They would have to have Starbucks on a
Didn't
desert
you
island.
get? Didn't I bring you a? You didn't get your small black hot coffee. I remembered.
Downstairs on the counter.
Downstairs, ice cold.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I forgot.
That's
Sorry.
okay. All right. What?
He can take it with him.
Yeah. Right. Name. Can you think of a show, a concert that you went to that changed your life, your trajectory? That you were like, oh, hey.
That's an interesting question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I'll answer that in a different way.
Sure.
I've seen Pat Metheny a couple times, and while his concerts, in my opinion, tend to be kind of long,
Okay.
and after an hour or so, I need to go out and take a break.
Yeah, sure.
Even though he's still playing.
Yeah, right.
I would say, just from a total music geek perspective, they're some of the most interesting things I've seen.
Yeah.
There was one show out at the Warner Theater in Torrington. He had an album out called The Way Up, and it was one piece of music, hour and 15 minutes long. And it was the full Pat Metheny group. There's like 8 people on stage.
Yeah.
And that's what they played.
Huh.
And the song had the most complex time changes and key changes, and it was very deep stuff. Not casual listening.
Sure.
You know, it was challenging music. And not one of the musicians on stage had charts for anything.
Wow.
They had everything memorized.
Yeah.
And when they finished that piece, Pat finally got on the mic and said, "Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?" And he said, "What would you like to hear?" And somebody yells out, "Play that one again."
Oh, boy.
You know, yeah.
And he did.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
imagine?
no. So that was cool. That was a
Yeah,
great show.
I bet.
I saw out at the Infinity, I saw Eric Johnson and Mike Stern together. They toured together
Oh, wow.
probably 8 or 9 years ago now.
Huh.
And that was a fabulous show.
Yeah, I
was,
bet.
It was very inspiring.
Was it a full band?
It was a quartet, yeah.
Who was on
they
drums?
oh, man. I can picture him, and I can't think of his name.
Uh-oh.
Was Andy Hess on bass, who was with Tedeschi Trucks Band for a while. And the drummer was Gary. Oh, you'd know the name if I could come up with it. I can picture him. Gary.
Yeah.
Not Gary Husband.
Yeah.
Can't come up with his name. Anyway, great quartet. But what was really inspiring about it was, I love Eric Johnson, but he tends to be kind of like, if the audience is over there, he puts his back to the audience and he's so focused looking at the guitar. What was cool about this, Mike Stern is just like a happy guy on stage.
Yeah.
And he really brought that out in Eric Johnson.
Oh, I see.
And so they were having a lot of fun together on stage, playing off of each other.
That's cool.
And yeah, I mean, the feeling from that was very influential to me. And so I'm actually, when I play with Little House in Simsbury, one of the things that is important to me is that we are having a good time on stage, or at least we look like we're having a good time on stage. And to me, one of the biggest compliments people can give us or give me when they're leaving is, "Man, you guys look like you were having so much fun up there."
Sure.
And, you know, people leave with that, they feel that, you know, they leave with that feeling. And, you know, that's always been important to me.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, that show was influential.
And
to
then
me.
when he wasn't playing with Mike Stern, he went back to turning his back.
Yeah. I mean, brilliant player and real unique musician. But it was really fun to see him with Stern, because Mike Stern really brought out something different.
Yeah.
I've seen Eric a few times, and that was probably one of the most enjoyable for me. I can't say, you know, it was just for me.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking. All I'm trying to think of is who the drummer.
I know. I'll come up with it soon.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know.
He's more of a fusion drummer. He's played in a number of fusion
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
situations.
We have to know. This is making me nuts. All right,
Yeah.
just think about it for a second.
Man, I can picture him too.
All right, so here's how we're gonna do it. Eric Johnson, We're going to start there.
They did a record together, Eric Johnson and Mike Stern, and I think that drummer was on that record.
Okay, all right. We're going to get to the bottom of this right now. Was it around 2014?
That sounds about right.
Okay, we're going to find out right now. You
Good.
ready?
Good, because this is bugging me.
I know, me too. Da-da-da-da-da. Uh-oh, this is going to be a problem. Because Anton Fig played on the record.
Okay.
That does not help us right now.
No, it wasn't Anton Fig.
Oh, boy, what are we going to do? Somebody's got to know. Someone's got to know.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, somebody will know. Somebody hit it up in the comments. No, because I know what you mean. Oh, boy. All right.
Not coming up?
Nope. Not him. Not him. Not them. Not him. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll put it in the comments. Wow. That's making me nuts. So I know what you mean. Oh, here we go. All right, hold on. We're getting there. Nope, Anton Fig. It definitely wasn't him.
He was on the record with Stern and Eric Johnson?
Yeah, and then here's a gig around then, and it's Anton.
Well, he's a great drummer, too.
Yeah. All right, well,
Cool.
someday we'll find out. We'll put it in the comments. Oh,
So
boy.
at some point, I would love to play a gig with you.
Oh.
We've never gigged together.
Yeah. No, that would be cool.
Yeah,
No, I'm down with that. You know where to find me,
yeah, cool.
right?
Yep.
We'll find Gary, whoever that is. Who could it be? Wow, I don't know. We got to figure it out. All right, you got any famous last words? We have a couple of minutes.
Famous last words,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. What's next? Just more Little House, just doing your thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that Brian McDonald is probably going to have some material coming up, so I'm sure
Yep.
we'll probably do some recording with that.
Cool.
So I had a group with Frank Jagir in the 90s called Mosaic.
Okay.
Which that's what that CD is that I gave you.
Yeah.
And that was more of an acoustic thing
Okay.
with me on nylon string guitar. And I would love to do kind of a reunion of that.
Okay.
Now, this is going, 20 years later.
Yeah.
And so we're in different places as people and musicians, but I think that's a good thing, And so that's actually something that I would love to do.
Yeah.
Kind of a reunion of that group. We had a couple different bass players. Craig Garfinkel was in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
for a
yeah.
little while.
Yep.
Jim LaMontagne was in it.
Okay.
Dave Natale was on bass for a little
Oh,
while.
yeah.
Yeah, a couple of different bass players.
Yeah.
And, in a trio, bass player is a huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so each one of those guys sort of brought out slightly different things in what we were doing.
Yeah.
Um,
I played with Dave for years. Yeah, he's great.
yeah.
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 Cool.
So Dave and I played together in a group called the Downbeats.
Okay.
Again, silly name, but it was a pretty good band. This was back when I met Dave when he was 15.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was 17 or 18,
Whoa.
something like that. Yeah, I've known Dave a long time.
That's heavy.
Yeah, great player.
Another Enfield person.
No.
No? But up that way.
Actually, he was from New London area.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ledyard, actually. His father was a music teacher in Ledyard.
Oh,
Dave
wow.
grew up in Ledyard.
Okay.
Eventually, he moved up this direction.
Right.
He lived in Bloomfield for a while.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And I think he's in Windsor at this point. But
Cool.
yeah, good player.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we can get out of here.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
No,
man.
hey, thanks for coming. It
was really fun.
I appreciate it. You were on the big list, so it was just a matter of time, and here we are.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, man, for sure. I appreciate it. Rick Handville was here.
In the house.
In the house. That's what they said. Jon Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland. Come over to the bridge, pull a Yui, park in front of the music store with the red neon light. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Come on the show with me. I'm making my way down the list still. I'm not even close. The list just gets bigger with every guest. That's kind of the beauty of it. Have your own podcast here in our studio. Dave will tell you how. Thanks a lot. That is all.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.